So we've had the Monaco Grand Prix and we get what we get at Monaco, isn't it? But Charles Leclerc wins his home race. He was massively emotional at the end there, wasn't he? A fantastic win from him. It was, probably was that one of the slowest Monaco Grand Prix we've ever had? Everybody was just managing, wasn't it? We were robbed of any strategy with that early red flag. Like I said, the race started with a bang, didn't it though? Red flag, lap 1, and honestly at the beginning I thought it was because of where Carlos Sainz had parked up, didn't he? He got a puncture with a little touch with Oscar Piastri. Then yeah, parked up on the side, and then 20 seconds later we got a red flag, and I thought there was not showing of any incident at that point until we seen the massive crash with Sergio Perez and the two Hasses, Nico Hülkenberg, the unfortunate passenger in that one. I think it was a bit of a racing incident when I look at it again. Sergio Perez did look over to the right, seen Magnussen there, and well, there was nowhere really for him to go apart from a barrier, unless he thought he was far ahead enough to just sort of shut him out. Magnussen didn't lift, but if he did lift, he would have lost out to Hülkenberg on the inside, who he'd kind of passed. So it was, yeah, I can see why Magnussen didn't do it, because he would have lost out definitely to Hülkenberg. And he might have missed out on the chance to pass Perez, which is, you know, it's first lap and you stick your foot in, and that caused a red flag, massive damage on that Red Bull though, wasn't it? It was, yeah, absolutely huge incident. And then we got the big one with Ocon and Gasly as well, a 5-place grid penalty for Ocon for the next race in Canada. He did get a 10-second penalty, obviously couldn't fulfill that, so 5-place grid penalty for Canada, which is going to hurt him badly over there. But thankfully it's a race you can overtake, not like here. Yeah, we got the restart. Luckily for Carlos Sainz, he's lined up back in 3rd place. He, yeah, just stayed where it was, wasn't it? A slow gap. There was no pass on the first lap, and it just stayed in that position all the way through, pretty much until the end of the race, wasn't it? It was so slow that even Carlos Sainz did a 1:14. It was near fastest lap of the race on lap 63 with 63 lap old hard tyres. The only guys that did pit in the top 10 were the two, Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, and although they gained up the 30 seconds they lost in the pit stops really quickly, surprising when Verstappen got behind George Russell, he wasn't all over the back harrying him, was he? After a couple of laps he got told to slow and watch his brakes from overheating. Lewis Hamilton closed up on Max Verstappen, had a 7 or 8 second gap, but again there was just nothing doing it, and it's all about track position. Charles Leclerc, a sensible tactical race. The only overtakes really was Bottas on Logan Sargent, which was a brilliant opportune move, wasn't it? And then we got Lance Stroll, who'd pitted on the softs, and he passed Zhou Guanyu and Logan Sargent as well, so that's 3 overtakes in the whole race. They were running 4 to 6 seconds a lap slower, and they still couldn't pass. The only thing that I could think of here is we got robbed of any strategy, and I think that would have been something in the midst of who and when someone pits, because we got the red flag early on. Everybody had switched to the opposite tyre, so they didn't have to make their stops, and they ran to the end. And is this something that maybe Formula 1 needs to think about? If we get such an early red flag, do they just stay on the tyres or keep the same tyre that they were on in terms of compound? So that means that they do need to take another tyre. It's something that maybe they could think about, because we just get something like this, and especially on a one-stop track like Monaco, where the only chance of something happening is strategy, and we got completely robbed of that. I guess it doesn't happen too often, and it's, yeah, Monaco is unique like that, and we knew it was all about qualifying, and that's why it's so important here, isn't it? Let's get to the 3 good and the 3 bad. Yes, I found some. Charles Leclerc, a win. Good tactical racing is why I've given him this. It was absolutely brilliant. Kept the gap to Norris and Russell, which was 3 or 4 places behind him, didn't he? Made sure that Norris couldn't get a pit stop and get out ahead of Russell, and that basically meant that he was never under any threat of a McLaren coming back on fresher tyres and attacking them. Although we've seen what happened with Verstappen and George Russell, there was not really much threat at all there, was there? So a really, really good tactical race win from him. Who cares for him? He got his race win. He wasn't there to make the race exciting or entertainment. So a really good job from him. Managed the tyres really well and then pulled away from Oscar Piastri, didn't he? About 8 or 9 seconds, and then just managed from there again. Brilliant, brilliant job. A great win in his home race. The second of the three have gone for Alex Albon. Some points, 2 points in fact, for first for Williams, and what a place to get him in Monaco. And his qualifying really did stand in good stead, didn't he? Didn't lose any places on the start, and then just comfortable in and behind Yuki. Them two playing the whole sort of Leclerc game, weren't they? Yuki Tsunoda and Albon. Like the gap between Tsunoda and Hamilton was like nearly 30-35 seconds, so Hamilton could have got a free pit stop, which he took eventually. I was surprised there was such a gap, but Yuki was managing his tyres massively, didn't he? He put on his personal lap best of a 1:14 in the end. That's how much he was managing them tyres, and it was just a comfortable bring it home job from him. But yeah, back to Albon. First points of the season, he can be massively happy with that. Really, really good job, and it was all about qualifying, and this is why they've happy to sign the star man for longer, isn't it? Great points for Alex Albon. And the third one, I'm going to give it to P2 for Oscar Piastri. I think that again was a really good job. He put himself in the window, a podium in Monaco. It was a fantastic job qualifying. Beats Lando, Norris, and them two. What a partnership for McLaren. They can be so happy with that. A fantastic result from Oscar Piastri. Managed really well. In the end, he just didn't stick with Charles Leclerc and managed the pressure of Carlos Sainz really easily, didn't he? Hats off to him. Fantastic job. On to the 3 bad. I've gone for Kevin Magnussen here. He kept his foot in, hit Perez, took his team out also, and I think he probably should have just lifted off slightly just to avoid incident, because where he had nowhere to go on the outside. You're not going to, unless Perez gave him a slight gap and managed the inside, but Nico Hülkenberg wasn't far up at the inside of Perez for him to worry about him. And so I think Magnussen probably should have done something, just lifted off slightly to live for another day. I know he was battling with his teammate, but he would have had the inside up into the second corner, and probably would have kept that position there. But yeah, taken out. The second of that is Ocon. Absolutely silly move to take out Gasly. Well, I didn't take him out, thankfully, but he took himself out from that massive incident. Look at his car lifted in the air. Took himself out, gets a 5-place grid penalty. His team manager was really fuming, wasn't he? He's going to set immediate consequences of this one for Ocon, just risking taking your guys out and risking points here. And luckily for Gasly, he managed to take that car home. No serious damage for him and some points for Alpine. Ocon accepted the incident as his fault. Let's see what happens internally, if anything, with that one going here to Canada. And the third of that, I've gone for Logan Sargent, the only guy to get past twice in the race, along with Zhou Guanyu, just both miles off the pace again, aren't they? Not surprised if they both lose out on any seats, both of them too. It was really poor race from Sargent and Zhou Guanyu. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That wraps up Monaco. It wasn't a cracker by any means. It was just a long, slow, steady race. Just robbed out by the red flag and no strategy calls from there on, weren't we? But Charles Leclerc wins, and the title battle looks really close and on, doesn't it? Especially in the constructors. There's not much points now between Red Bull and Ferrari. Red Bull's just picking up that 6-point finish with some points for Max Verstappen. McLaren now as well, double points finish, made up significant points. Mercedes, the big losers here, but they've got some upgrades to bring, and what looked like a championship early doors where Red Bull again would run off with it. We've had 3 different race winners already this season, which is a massive change from what we saw last time out. So the already season towards the end of the season looks like it's going to be really, really interesting. I'm sure we'll see Red Bull back on it in Canada, but it's another street circuit, not so bumpy as here and Monaco, but it's at least we'll get some chance for overtaking in Canada. Can't wait for the action to get going there. Watch out for the driver ratings video coming up shortly, and the preview for Canada after that. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment as always. See you next time.